Former director of the Ghana School of Law. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. You've just been looking through this document, quite lengthy, but let's look at some of the concerns she's raising. She's raising concerns about Justice Poamang's committee and the grounds for which they declared that she was involved in that, quote, stated misbehavior. She uses quite strong words that the report is false, misleading, unfair, unreasonable, perverse, quite strong words to describe a report, and it raises a lot of questions. But from where you sit, let me take your initial reaction to this report.
Thank you very much. My initial reaction she's
to this suit she's filed.
To tell Ghanaians that at the time she was appointed by former President Nana Akufo-Addo, former Justice Torkornoo, not for purpose. He's displaying a lot of emotional imbalance and immaturity. She has to realize that the seat of the Chief Justice is not a traditional stool that the occupants can claim as a right. My initial reaction, but more on, the legal terrain. What doing is merely seeking to re-argue, rehash, a case that she fought fiercely before the Poamang Committee. Now that the Poamang Committee has submitted its report and the President has accepted the report and the recommendations containing it, they cease to be Poamang findings. They now become the decision of the President. And the decision of the President was taken in accordance with the Constitution. It cannot be questioned. Nowhere in Article 146, clauses 1 to 11, that give a right to question the President's acceptance of the recommendation. So, period. That must be the end of the case.
That is not the end of the case, is it?
Activate the process.
But for her, that is not the end of the case, really, because she's concerned
that must be the end. She should be told that she has come to the end of the road.
So she's raising concerns that even the recommendation that the committee gave, their findings was flawed. And that flawed findings is what the President acted upon. So she wants the whole decision of that committee to be squashed by the court.
Is merely reactivating, something that cannot be reactivated. The case is dead and buried, and nothing she does will make the dead case turn in its grave. I'm sorry to, make this observation, but a former Chief Justice must understand that she is bound by the Constitution. If he does not appreciate the EJ removal process, if she cannot observe it, she cannot respect it, she's only demonstrating that when she was appointed, she was immature. And because she was immature, she's, suffering all this, she has to stop. She has to stop. Now, the grounds are frivolous. The entire action is vexatious and frivolous. She must know that in law there is something called res judicata, and she's caught by res judicata. She cannot resurrect, the case. The President, has acted within the confines of the Constitution. What he is trying to do is purporting to prevent or prohibit the President from discharging his constitutional obligations and duties. The nomination of a CJ is not a presidential privilege. It is a constitutional duty, a constitutional obligation that must be performed. The vetting process is a constitutional duty It is an obligation. It is not a right or a privilege of the Speaker to convene Parliament for the sole purpose of vetting the President's nominee, for consideration as Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. And therefore, her latest action is flawed. It will not go anywhere.
But then here's the concern, really. Should she go to court and the court finds that some of the concerns she has raised, especially about the committee's report, and then we have a situation where we have already vetted and approved a new Chief Justice, what then will play out in that scenario, really?
But what is it, in the Constitution that after the President has accepted and acted upon the recommendations of a committee established pursuant as the one for the state, any court, can assume jurisdiction to rehear the matter? Nowhere. This latest action, is again dead on arrival. I mean, nowhere. No, the court will have jurisdiction to entertain, this frivolous and vexatious application.
So even when she has filed the suit at the High Court, they lack jurisdiction to hear this matter. Is that the case? The
High Court doesn't have jurisdiction in this matter. This is a pure and simple Article 146 CJ removal process. The tagging of Article 123 to a sympathetic discretionary measure is neither here nor there. Article 146 is not, a discretionary thing that, one can fall on the post spelled out by the Supreme Court in the Awuni and West African Examination Council case. Sorry to make this observation. But again, I mean, it is only showing our lack of understanding of, the provisions enshrined in Article 146. And for a whole Chief Justice to display this ignorance, the nuances of Article 146, it's mind-boggling. I'm sorry that I'm being too severe on the CJ, but I think that, what she's doing, is creating a caricature of herself. And she must be told in plain language that the office of CJ is not a personal property, and therefore she cannot stop the President from proceeding to perform or discharge. Indeed, if the President, fails to discharge or perform his constitutional duty by virtue of Article 144 Clause 4, he, the President, will rather be in breach of, the oath he subscribed to the good people of Ghana, and that can be an impeachable offense for not enforcing, the Constitution or, observing, the Constitution, that integrant of the oath. That is subscribed.
But Mr. Ansa Asare, the Article 146 is clear, really, that you must be able to establish, quote, stated misbehavior. And that's the whole argument of the former Chief Justice. She argues that she never indulged in anything that would have warranted that, quote, stated misbehavior, for which the committee recommended her removal. So even though the nuances of Article 146 exist, there are concerns that an injustice may be ongoing beneath our nose, and we're looking at it unconcerned. That's the reason why she's challenging this in court. You disagree?
I do. I don't agree with that at all, because you see, there are needs. She started with the committee, she went to court, she went to the High Court, she went to the Supreme Court. The public policy of Ghana is that there must be an end to litigation. And she superintended the judiciary, and she, at every step in the discharge of her duty, usefully reminded herself always that whenever litigants were appeared before her, she had the duty to remind them that litigation must come to an end. Litigation must come to an end. Her litigation in this regard came to an end The moment the president accepted the recommendation and acted upon it, that brought to an end. Whatever she does now is only, making ugly noises, which will constitute a social nuisance. That will be the effect. Complete social nuisance and a mess, of, her legal prowess.
Thank you so much, Ansa Asare, former director of the Ghana Law School, just joining us here on The Pulse.